Do you need a full-size SUV? Or would a midsize do the trick? How about a compact? Or even a subcompact? Today, we're gonna talk cargo space, fuel economy, and passenger space to help you choose which one's right for you. Good dog. Hey everyone, I'm Alison from Edmunds, where we're known as the car testing pros. Now today, we've teamed up with the experts at CarMax to help you find the right vehicle for your needs. And today, we're comparing different sizes of SUVs. So let's start with the subcompact, or the extra small SUVs. These are the very smallest, in fact. And the Hyundai Venue is actually the smallest SUV currently sold in the US, at just a little bit over 13 feet long. And that means it should have no trouble fitting into our standard parking spot. At 8 by 16 feet, in this SUV, easy. Even if you're parallel parking on a street without marked spaces, you should be able to find room for this little guy. And it's pretty fuel efficient too, for a non-hybrid SUV. To drive 100 miles in this car, you'll need a mere 3.2 gallons of gas. That works out to about 31 mpg combined per the EPA estimates. But the trade-off is, and you guessed it, a little bit less room inside. What do you think, Sandy? So if you want to fit long-legged teens or rear-facing car seats, you're going to actually have to move that front seat up a little bit to make room for that. And you're not going to fit 3 adults in the back seat, at least not 3 happy ones. It's still pretty practical though, with enough cargo space for grocery trips or a stroller, and if you fold down those back seats, maybe even a small piece of furniture. We're going to use these blocks to represent 1 cubic foot of cargo so that we can compare the different SUVs visually. So let's start building our great wall of cargo space. So this cargo wall represents the maximum cargo capacity of each SUV, and each color we add will show how much more space you get by moving up in size. For simplicity's sake, we're just going to round up to the nearest whole number. And here's what the Venue can hold. Really not bad for a little guy like this. But let's see how much more a bigger SUV adds. Move from the subcompact to the compact SUVs and you just get more. The Toyota RAV4 is one of the most popular vehicles in the country because it gives you a ton of practicality without taking up a ton of space. And just for a bit of perspective, we're going from a little bit more than 13 feet to about 15 feet in length. It's still pretty easy to park, and you can fit this guy just about anywhere. It also doesn't need a whole lot more fuel. And if you get it with the front-wheel drive, the fuel economy is nearly the same as our subcompact. To go 100 miles in this guy, it's gonna take just a mere 1/10 of a gallon more than the subcompact. That's just 4 cups. Even better, there are more hybrid compact SUVs on the market than any other sizes we're looking at. So this truly gives you a lot of options in this size class. Now, they do cost a little bit more, but if fuel economy is a top priority, you'll have more choices with compact SUVs. And the interior gives you a lot more space. Getting teens, adults, and infant car seats in doesn't mean reconfiguring all your seats or playing a massive game of Tetris. But it's just short of enough space for 3 adults to stay comfortable over a long drive. One big benefit is how much trunk space you get, considering the vehicle's footprint. This trunk is massive, literally doubling what you get in the subcompact. That is a decent-sized wall. Now, if you've got more people than stuff to carry, you're probably looking at a midsize SUV, specifically a midsize 3-row, which has enough room for 6, 7, and even sometimes 8 people. This Kia Telluride is starting to get kind of big. We're up to about 16.5 feet long, which doesn't sound like a lot, but this Telluride is also getting wider to make room for all those people we talked about. Passenger space is great, and it's the obvious reason to choose a midsize 3-row. There's no need to cram everyone into that second row. But if you need to, 3 adults can fit in the second row just fine. That third row can usually accommodate a child booster seat too. In the Telluride's case, you can put 2 latch-equipped seats in the third row, but each SUV is a little bit different, so be sure to check that for yourself. Behind the third row, you get a lot more space than our subcompact. But let's be honest, it isn't enough space for luggage for 6 or 7 people. If you start folding down the seats, you get more space, a lot more space. But even with all the seats folded down, it's surprising that it doesn't add a whole lot more cargo space than the compact SUV, which is a bit hard to comprehend. The reality is, even folded, those extra seating rows just take up a ton of space. You can still park it, even if it's getting tight, and it has a ton of room inside. But mid-size SUVs come with another trade-off. Plain and simple, you're gonna take a mileage hit compared to a compact. A front-wheel drive Telluride will need a full extra gallon of gas for every 100 miles that you drive. All the other SUVs we've looked at are pretty much just big cars, but full-size SUVs like this Suburban are built like trucks, which makes them more rugged and much better at actually towing big, heavy loads. But when it comes to parking, this Chevy Suburban is one of the biggest SUVs being made today, at almost 19 feet long. It's so big, in fact, that it might not even fit in some residential garages. So just make sure that you measure your space before you buy, because this land yacht might not fit everywhere. There's heaps of passenger space, and if you find a Suburban with the available front bench seat, you can fit up to 9 people in there. The downside, getting in and out of this guy can be a climb, and older puppies, they might need some help getting up. And if you're hoisting little kids or heavy infant car seats inside, be sure to lift with your legs because it's a distance. And the cargo space is massive too. There's more space behind both rows of seating and a truly, truly massive cargo area with all of the seats folded down. In fact, there's virtually no impromptu flea market find that you won't be able to fit back there. Now, most full-size SUVs aren't as long as the Suburban, so you won't get this much space with all of them. But in general, their height and their width still make for some serious space when all the seats are folded down. So you might expect the fuel efficiency on a truck like this to be less than stellar. And you would be absolutely right. To drive 100 miles, the Suburban standard engine with 2-wheel drive is going to need more than 1.5 extra gallons of gas compared to the midsize, and more than 2.5 extra gallons per 100 miles compared to the compact and the subcompact SUVs. Compact SUVs and midsize 3-rows are really the sweet spot for a lot of people. They just give you a lot of practicality without a lot of compromises. The math here is pretty simple. The bigger the SUV, the more space you get, but the harder it is to park, and the more gas you'll use. And of course, you'll typically spend more when you move up to a bigger size. I'm Allison, and we'll see you next time.